So let's pick something that you're comfortable on. Your Lexington, you've got a good win rate on. Your Shokaku, you got a good win rate on. Let's try to see what you do, and just pick something that's kind of a comfort pick right now, so we can see what you got. Because I need to see where you are in your CV play, so that we can figure out what we need to focus on.
Okay. So, do you think it's better tier 6, 8, or 10?
Completely up to you. I totally don't care. 6 is going to be more... so, tier 4 is a complete learning tier. It's extremely boring and the damage is terrible. That's tier 4. Tier 6 is a learning tier as well. The AA is still low, but your damage is still mitigated. It's not super strong. So it allows you the freedom to kind of learn, feel out stuff. Tier 8 is where you have a more fully formed experience. So Tier 8 is probably the best representative of what CV play is. Tier 10 is just kind of like Tier 8 even faster. So Tier 8 is probably going to be the best one, so I can see what you know about flak and movement and attacks, etc. So yeah, Tier 8 is probably good.
All right, let's try with the Saipan.
Well, let's not do the Saipan, because the Saipan is actually CV on hard mode. A lot of people don't know that, but it's really resource intensive, which is pretty tough.
Yep.
Let's make sure you got a camo on.
So come again?
A camo. So go to exterior. It's one of the tabs up at the top.
Shokaku, yep.
And then over in the camouflage, you could pick any of them if you want, or you can pay one for credits, which is going to be the top 3. The first 3 up in the expendable, they're green. I think the third one from the left is the one that kind of covers both and is worth 22,000 credits. So you can buy it, if you don't happen to have credits you want to use. It does mean you make a little less money when you play, but it's better than not having a camo, because that could be the difference between being spotted and killed or not. Right. I would recommend clicking auto resupply under enable, put that to enable, so that you just always have a camo on, because it's a small thing, but small things add up to wins. Small things add up to good. So I would always recommend having a camo, because it's just too darn useful not to. We can go ahead, hop into the battle, and see what we see.
All right. Let me change my camera.
Okay. Yes, that is something we're gonna have to look at. So before you do that, let me set my phone. Cool. All right. We should check your commander and your upgrades. Well, go ahead and set whatever commander you want to set on it. That's up to you. Cool. Okay, so first 9 points in every CV in the game. Every single CV in the game. It's going to be, it's actually got a yellow triangle on that first one. It's called Air Supremacy, minus 5% air restoration time. The reason for that is, you may not actually even get an additional plane, because minus 5% is so small that you might get an additional plane over the course of like 15 to 20 minutes, and your match might not even last that long. But it's going to release the next plane a little faster, release the next plane after that a little faster. So it gives you access to your resources a little faster, and having planes is better than not having planes. In line 2, there's a thing called improved engines. Third from the left, that is the one. So you're always going to be flying somewhere, and getting there faster is better than not getting there faster. So that is 2.5% more stuff you get to do over the entire course of the game. So yes, improved engine is an always. On the third line, there's going to be 2 triangles that are off on the right side: aircraft armor and additional health. So aircraft armor reduces the amount of continuous damage you take, and the other one gives you just straight more health on your planes. Do you know what continuous damage is?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Yes, it is the guaranteed damage from the bullets shooting you in the face. So these first 9 points are going to be the baseline for every single CV in the game. Why? Because having planes is better than not having planes. Having faster planes is better than having slower planes. And having your planes be less dead is always good too. So more, faster, healthier. These are the base 9 points. After this is when you can start to specialize into what the carrier can do. You know, every carrier's got its own kind of vibe and feel and stuff like that. Right. So of all the stuff that's on here, one of the things really does stand out, and it's called Proximity Fuse. It's on the 4th line. That's going to be a torpedo skill that's going to allow 10% more of that torpedo damage to push through. And Japanese use torps as their main weapon. Yeah, they have cool looking bombs. They even have some kind of cool looking rockets, but their torps are their main weapon. So that's going to help you get more of that damage through the armor, the protection that the enemy has. After this, it starts to get more, personal choice. Some people, they have real trouble with flak, so they might look into enhanced flak armor, which is another 4-point talent off to the right of where you're looking now. There is a sight stab talent, which I personally like because it helps firm up the reticle on the bombs and give you a better bombing angle, or at least it can, depending on how you fly. Outside of that, having more fighters is always good. Having more boost is always good. I don't think there's a ton of other talents that you can pick that really are impactful, but it comes down to kind of personal playstyle and choice. So how about we do this? Why don't you go ahead and click Master, and we'll just leave it alone. Because, you've got doubloons and stuff, and I don't want to spend your money for you. But this is going to be a core build for Japanese CVs in general. You want the base 9, and because they're so torp focused, you want Proximity Fuse. After that, it's really something that you personally are going to feel out. Do you need flak armor? Do you need more fighters? Do you need sight stab? Do you want boost? Those are all personal choices, and everybody's going to have their own flavor of play. Let's escape out of this and go to the upgrades and see what the upgrades on the Shokaku are. Okay, so the first 2 ones are the plain ones. Cool. So there's really not much to pick in that section, so pretty straightforward. For the third one, it looks like you have speed. Is that correct? Yes, you do. So you could have additional attack time on the rockets and torps, but I'll be honest, I don't feel that you need it. Some people don't like additional speed because it means that you have to drop from a little further away because there's a longer lockout time. And then secondary batteries, who the hell uses the Shokaku for secondaries? So I personally like the torpedo speed. I'm completely cool with that. I don't like the additional attack time only because, one, I don't use it, and because if I use it, if I click the attack button and the ship dies or something goes on, then I have to wait through all that extra time before I can go fly somewhere else. So my personal preference, I agree with your pick. For the next slot, you have additional health and torpedoes. I also agree with that. Torpedoes are the mainline weapon for the Japanese CVs. It's not that you couldn't put additional health in rockets. It's not that you couldn't put additional health in bombs, but torpedoes are the workhorse of the Japanese line. So sure, throw the extra health where it's going to matter. Completely agree. And then for the last slot, you have Flight Control Modification 1. This is a little flexible, but I would say it's flexible for advanced players. Flight Control Mod 1 is going to be absolutely the correct choice for a newer player because it gives 2 additional planes of each type and bonus restoration. Do you know what the aircraft carrier deck places available means?
Not really. I see the planes on the deck when you start the game, but
sure. Really so move your mouse over to one of the planes below the Shokaku. It's one of those things that you pick like to upgrade or whatever, one of your currently ones. Just move your mouse over, not to the left, to the left, to the left. You'll see it's under like the 600,000 credits on the left side. Any of the yellow ones. Cool. So if we look at that on the very bottom, it says number of aircraft on deck. That means that's the maximum that you can have ready at any given time. So like you can't regen 20 planes or 50 planes to sit on the deck. And when you take Flight Control Mod, that number becomes 2 planes bigger. And because you start the game with a full number of planes on the deck, you start with 2 free planes. So you start with 2 free rockets, 2 free torps, 2 free bombs. And then there's also the minus 5% regen, so you regen a little faster when you do the thing. I only make a point out of that because I think a lot of people kind of miss that one, so I figured I'd kind of throw that out just for informational value. So Flight Control Mod gives you 2 additional planes of all 3 types and bonus regen, which is pretty nice. Now if we look, 16 rockets, that's a lot of rockets. Granted, it would be 14 without Flight Control Mod, but if you go to the torps real quick, Torpedoes 17. So you have even a little more than normal on the torpedoes. So the reason why I point all this out is the Japanese line has a lot of planes. That's kind of one of its gimmicks. So you don't have to take flight mod. You could take concealment if you wanted to, but in a random battle, you're going to lose a lot of planes. There's a lot of bad ships. They can be grouped up. There can be a lot of AA. So in this case, I would not go for it. But in a clan battle, seeing a clan stuff or competitive stuff or ranked stuff, you could choose concealment mod in slot 5 for the upgrades if you wanted to do that, because you do have enough planes that you can make things happen. And then also in slot 5, there's a choice. If you go back to the slot 5 upgrade, there's a choice. If you click on it, it's the bottom choice called Squadron Consumables Mod. And that does two things. One, it's going to make your fighters that you place last 50% longer. So that's good for ranked and competitive, because you may need to protect people. You may need to shut down, stop CV, the enemy CV, from being able to do stuff somewhere for a longer period of time while you're busy doing something else. So having those planes last longer is great. Also, it can increase the duration of your heal on your torpedo planes. So that can allow you to do some tricky shenanigan-y stuff. So I just wanted to kind of go through upgrades so that, we sort of talk through it, because I find the best way to assist with decision making is to know what decisions you can make, and having that information is good. Okay, so we talked about upgrades, we talked about commander stuff. I don't think there's going to be too much more there, so let's go ahead and hop into the battle and see what you can do.
All right.
But I hear the don't worry about it, man. It's all good. It's just playing.
I was just thinking about the other 8 points that we didn't use. I really like stabilization sight and the extra speed in my torps.
Well, then go back. Go ahead. You can throw it on. That's completely okay. I just didn't want to tell you to do something and then be like, okay, well, we're going to change it now. So, but I mean, if you like having that is completely cool. Now, I do want to say one thing. So hit yes, and then we're going to say one thing about the torpedo skills.
Right.
All right, so hover over the two torp skills that you looked at. So let's look at the one that's on the right first, the plus 5% speed. Okay. So aerial torpedoes go whatever speed they go. They might go 35 knots, they might go 30 knots, they might go 50, they might go whatever the hell they do. The way that they're balanced by the game developers is that they have a lockout time. So they'll move 1 second before they arm, or 3 seconds before they arm, or 5 seconds before they arm. So making the torpedoes go faster means they just go a longer distance before they arm, which is generally okay, because I mean, hey, who cares, whatever. But if enemies are close to islands, sometimes that gets rough. Or maybe you have another ship that's nearby and it gets in the way. So having more speed is great for when you drop and there's a lot of distance between where they arm and they actually touch the enemy ship. Because if they have to travel after they arm, well, then that's where the plus 5, speed comes in. That's where you get bonuses from the extra speed. But if you, like me, drop with the torpedoes where they arm right off the side of the hull and then bonk, they hit and they blow up, you really don't gain anything from the torpedo speed. It's for the longer drops or for when enemies try to maneuver that comes into play. And then the thing over to the left, we're just going to double down on what we just talked about. The other torpedo skill just to the left.
Yep, absolutely agree. I actually use that skill for aim DDs, and I'm able to hit a lot of DDs with extra speed. Sure.
And then the other one is torpedo arming distance. So that's literally that timing lockout that goes from, say, if it's 3 seconds, well, then it goes down 0.3. So it goes to 2.7 seconds. So some people do like taking the additional speed upgrade and the additional speed for the 2 commander points. And then to offset, that increased whatever, they take the other point. So it's four commander points to do that, to basically buff up your torp speed by about 10%. Without really changing anything else about the torps. I just personally want to say, as you get used to playing carrier, you do not need those 4 points. That sounds a little awkward. Why would I say that? Because the place where you drop the reticle, if you're trying to drop torps right off somebody's hull, is exactly the same as if you didn't have any of those points. Literally, it's the same attack in the same way, doing the same thing, which is really strange, but it's true because you're aiming 3 seconds ahead of time. So if you ever find yourself in a position where it's like, man, I just wish I had some more commander points, like maybe I need this flak skill, or maybe I need some fighters because I'm playing on a clan battle team and we got to get some fighter stuff. You can learn how to drop without those points, and once you learn it, you just do it. When you add those points, sometimes it can feel like it changes the way that it works. So me personally, I advocate that people learn without it, because then they don't need it, and then they don't have to throw those points there. Those are an aiming skill that you don't, well, functionally need. And then if you want, we've got that one last point. So with that, I'm going to do a real quick talk about boost talents. So I'd like you to click the aircraft tab over on the Shokaku. Over on the right side, there's like a bunch of stuff. If you click and open up the aircraft thing on the little Shokaku description thing, and then hover over the torpedo bombers. Cool. So if we look down on the fourth line, it says engine boost time 22 seconds, and then engine boost reload time 40 seconds. So with this, you have an upgrade that gives you plus 10% boost. So it goes from 20 to 22. But the boost reload stays flat. It's always the same. So if you took the plus 5%, it raises up to 23, but it still reloads in the same period of time. So technically, you increased your boost reload rate by 5%, as well as the maximum boost that you have by 5%. So it's pretty cool in that sense, but there is another talent off to the left of it called Last Gasp. Are you familiar with what that does?
Yes, sir.
Cool. So Last Gasp, not hugely effective on the Shokaku, only because the torps are its main weapon and you're not often going to get Last Gasp, but that comes down to personal preference. Some people love it. I would recommend the plus 5 because it is always useful if it comes down to boost talents, and of course if you need to, you just have a boost consumable you can use. There are some carriers where Last Gasp is almost mandatory, but it's not this one. So I would take the plus 5% if you want to use the point boot, and then we can go into random battle and see what's going on. Now, do you want me talking over your shoulder, or do you want me to just kind of observe for the first battle? Because we got time.
Oh, excellent. If we have time, yeah, just watch me the first round and then be over my shoulder the next one.
Okay.
Boy, this is exciting. Thanks a lot, man. Really appreciate it.
Yeehaw. You get to watch a waiting screen for 5 minutes.
What about the French carrier? You hear anything about it?
The Baron?
The French?
Yeah, that's the Baron, or Byron, or however you say it. It looks like it's an air control CV, but it's still in testing, so who knows where they go with it. But
Ooh, it's a heavy AD.
yeah, Friesland is quite powerful. Odds are you'll know where he is, and you can just play around that. You need to start the battle, because otherwise you're wasting time. Planes off the deck.
Be wary. A dizzying fall.
So in the case of rockets, don't do... Whoa, no, don't shoot, no. Okay.
Sorry, I dropped it.
All right, so first thing with the rockets, you cannot cruise control with rockets. So the going up to max speed and coasting, don't do it. Just run your boost all the way down and then let it come back all the way up. Every time you let go of the trigger, every time you let go of the gas, it takes half a second before you start regenerating boost again. So the more times you tap it, the less boost you get.
Yeah.
Okay, so you know about skipping animations, which is good. And you're heading off with rockets again?
Yep.
Why are you heading off with rockets?
Just to spot the next time. I don't know where the DDs are.
Okay.
Say there's one DD at A. Nobody is there. I have to get the hell out of here.
What?
The flank is open. It's only our Yugumo there.
Okay.
And then these planes are coming.
Sure. There's the Friesland. Start an attack and just attack the water and run away. Rather than just eat AA, you could just attack and run away. That's a slingshot. Okay. So I need you to recall, and then I need you to close your stream on Discord and open it with 15 frames per second, because this is not working very well. It's jumping all over the place. It's pretty crazy. Hopefully this will be a little easier.
Or there's a weekend, so maybe there's too much people connected.
Oh, I don't know. It's just when the AA would happen, your planes would like vibrate in the sky. They would jump back and forth. It was a weird graphical thing.
Oh boy. That Frillin spot me. Yeah. Oh, that Frillin.
So running was the correct choice. You might get one there.
We'll see. Nope.
Yeah, so let's not torp the Friesland in smoke, because that's going to lose you a lot of resources for potentially no gain. So let's make sure that we're working on stuff that's going to be, going to actually show results. Now you need to stop attacking around where the Friesland is, because the Friesland has incredibly strong AA for what you're trying to do. And you've already lost a lot of torpedo planes. Once these go down, you don't have any more. So, for all intents and purposes, let's just stop doing stuff at A. Because there's too much stuff there. You're not going to be able to affect anything. If you see 3 ships that are close, that's what I would call a hard target. And you only get to strike into hard targets so many times before you literally just run out of planes.
Yeah. Also, my goal there was trying to delay him or deviate him so I can run away.
Sure. Well, I get that. Ultimately, you live and die by your teammates' positioning, which is exactly why you ran from A, because you didn't have any teammates to stop them. So they just walked forward and started shooting you, which kind of sucks. So now your team is migrating to the north. So, okay. Going north for the winter or something. I don't know. North for summer. You are getting some spotting damage, which is good. Just by giving information. But, we're kind of looking, we're seeing what options there are. Now, one thing is, don't strike just to strike. Because if you're doing that, then you can often end up putting yourself in a position where the only strike you can make is a bad strike. So charging into the Missouri, for instance, when you go in there, once you strike, your plane's going to coast past the Missouri into a Vladivostok, into Johann de Witt. There's just nothing to get there. Now, if we had torpedoes now, the Missouri is isolating, and we could be ripping through the Missouri 2 or 3, torpedo passes, because the Vlad has now moved away. The Johann has now moved away. So those would be very helpful. But unfortunately, we're kind of out of torpedoes. You have some, though. And, I mean, you'll regen more over time, which is also good. At this point, you might want to start using rockets just to give your bombs and torps a little time to regen, because we've taken some pretty significant losses. Are there any mod station mods by any chance that you recommend for CV players? Down here in the bottom, I don't remember what this is, but there's a thing that tracks how many fighters you have that I absolutely love. Other than that, I can't think of any mods that I'm overly concerned about. Okay. Are you aware of what pre-dropping is?
What's that?
Are you aware of what pre-dropping is?
Yes.
Head to the right, head to the right, head to the right, head to the right, head to the right. If you're going to be going in on that line, you're going to have 2 cruisers and the Vlad shooting you in the face. If you go around the Vladivostok, then you could strike him from behind, where the 2 cruisers don't really get to help. It takes longer, which sucks, but we don't have a lot of resources right now because we've lost a lot of planes. So, you got to make the most out of what you can. And pre-drop now if you can. Go ahead and pre-drop now, because you get 1 strike on the Vlad before, if you had more planes, they would just fly over into those cruisers and die. So strike the Vlad. Hard turn, hard turn, hard turn. There you go, because you're on the line now. And I think we need to work on boost usage. Slam on the brakes. Woot, got a piece of them. Okay. I want you to torp the Helena, which is all the way in the back on the left. Basically, there's one giant cluster that's hanging out in B, and there's a Helena that's not keeping up. So we get to kind of act like vultures and sort of pick off the things, the weak ones or the stragglers, the people that are peeling off the pack. The Vladivostok would be a good target, but the Vladivostok is extremely hard to get to because we have to fly around everything. Whereas the Helena was actually pretty exposed. You could also strike... You could do that, but you only get to strike once, because after you strike, you're going to fly over him, unless you can try to turn away, and you might lose a lot of planes to that. Drop a fighter for spotting. Drop a fighter for spotting. Okay, so I would have rather gone for the Helena, because the Helena can't heal. When you drop, you need a hard turn to the right. 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 And keep pushing through and heal, 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 heal. Too late on the heel, you lost a plane.
Yeah.
So that's why you did not want to strike the King George, because you struck him, and then all of a sudden you're taking Strasbourg AA, and you're taking George AA, and Nagato AA, and all this stuff together is just going to kill your stuff. One torp doesn't matter. Recall, come out with bombs. So you wanted to strike the target that did not have friends, because you don't have planes to be able to do that. One of the things with a CV, people will complain that they have too many planes. Oh man, they never run out. It's terrible. You have a buffer to be able to take, I don't know if you can strike the King George now. Pre-drop. You're going to pre-drop and strike him from behind. You're only going to get 1 drop. That's why you're going to come in with 6. Because you're going to have just enough to be able to lose some planes and then make a strike. Yep, start accelerating, get in there. You don't have a lot of time. You want to put the reticle basically on the midship when you go into attack, and you want to keep accelerating the whole way through. A little far forward on the reticle. That might be okay. You don't have to watch the bombs fall. Good drop. Rockets. Because you don't have anything else, so... Let's see if there's any opportunities here. They have a lot of ships and your team doesn't, which is a little rough. But again, maybe there's a way in. Let's pre-drop, because we're going to be striking into a big, gigantic group of bad guys, which means we're only going to strike once. Look to the left, please. Strasbourg is low. So the stuff in the north, the Vladivostok and the whatever that's up on the BC line, we can't see them. So they might be low, but we don't have any help up there. There's nobody else shooting up there. So we're just going to work on the things that we can see. Recall, there's no reason to watch this. Your planes are dead. You could torp that, though. He is isolating. Cool. Good shot, by the way.
Thank you.
And next time, as soon as you start to see that Strasbourg, you want to drop a fighter, because your team is not able to spot, because your team is mostly dead. So drop the fighter now. You want to drop it at a distance where it's not going to get shot down, so that it'll provide spotting for a longer duration. Don't be afraid to heal. Heal, because you need every plane you have. You cannot throw away planes right now.
Ah, no.
Well, this is what it is. Okay, so there was a boost usage issue. There was an attacking into grouped issue. Pre-dropping was worth talking about, I guess. Although I think technically off your initial was okay. Initial approach, we'll talk about. Right. Okay, so go to back to port, and then we're going to hop into a training room.
The only reason I'm pink is because I left the battle when we started streaming.
Well, whatever. So go to the training room. Okay, so set it map to ocean. And battle mode to weapons test. It's like the last one, I think. Armor resilience test. There we go. Number of players, you can kick that up to 12v12. Cool. Create. So you should already have the Shokaku selected, so you can just click ready if you want to. And then over on the over on the right side on the Bravo team. No, not moving, not armed. Yeah, we're not messing with that right now. We're just using target dummies. So you can click over there, that's fine, but you need to uncheck armed and moving. And I just tend to like going after US stuff because, you know, I'm American. So if you can click on there and add like add some battleships, add some cruisers. Could add a DD if you want, but I don't think it's going to do anything. Just whatever you want. Bismarck, click the button 4 times. That'll add 4 of them. There you go. And then add some cruisers. Hindenburg if you want, or whatever cruiser type you want. Just something tier 8. Clickety click click. Let's not get crazy with it. It doesn't really matter. There's nothing super special in having a diverse comp. We just need a bunch of stuff to look at. So add 3 more cruisers just so we have some things to shoot. Cool. And ready. So you can go ahead and click the thingy. Okay, so first thing. We're going to talk about boost usage. There were several times where you went into attack and you had no boost. That is a problem. Boost is going to get you fast through AA faster, which means you take less damage. Boost is going to allow you to speed up and slow down. Click start battle, please. Boost is going to allow you to speed up and slow down. The reason why we click start battle is so that we're already prepped on the screen. So as soon as that timer runs down, you can immediately run planes off the deck. Because any time you waste is time wasted and you never get that time back. Granted, this is a training battle, so it doesn't matter, but it's still a good habit to be into so that you can be ready to scout or do whatever you're going to do immediately. Okay, boost usage. Go ahead and take torpedoes. So this is what I call cruise control. You may have seen this on stream. We're just going to go over it again. So once you're stabilized, which is now, I want you to speed up to the maximum speed of your planes and then let go. Let go. So 181 knots, and then it's going to start to slowly reduce down while you regain boost, and your minimum is 140. So go ahead and go up to 181, and as soon as you touch it, let go. And once your boost is full back up, go back up to 181. So you'll notice that you can touch all the way up to maximum speed, and then you go all the way down to your minimum, whatever. So you're going an average of somewhere between that, and you're not losing any boost. So basically you're going an additional 20 knots or 17 knots or something for free. Free is good. That also means that when it becomes time for you to actually go in and strike something, you have boost to be able to do that. Okay, recall, we're going to work on your bombing technique. All right, so you can pick a Bismarck, I don't care which one, and I want you to go in and strike it. So what is the first thing that we're seeing we're doing wrong?
Oh, my.
Yeah. So it's really easy to be bored, because it's like, oh man, I have to go all the way from point A to point B. But when you do that, you do have some engine boost consumables that'll pull your ass out of the fire, but you only have 2. It's not a bad thing to be able to use them, but you need to train yourself to not just, set your foot on the gas. Okay, so what did we learn there? We learned that if you put the target directly on the ship, it's not actually finished aiming by the time it gets on top of the ship. So in this case, you want to put the target a little in front of the ship if you're going to aim without using boost. I don't think you used boost at all there, right? So let's put the target just a little before the ship and just watch the animation play. So that's actually no, not in front of the ship as in to its nose. I mean in front of it compared to where you are. So like basically bombing early, so to speak.
Okay.
So one of the things with the Japanese planes is that their bombing is not, it's not like the US dive bombers where they just go up and then go down. They do have kind of a rolling movement to it. So set the reticle about there, go, click, 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 there we go. And then just keep the line. And you'll see it starts to firm up, but it kind of holds in a position. So we started that too early, but we could keep rolling it forward if we had to, or we could use boost. So let's do a different thing. Let's go in on the Bismarck. Let's put the reticle on the Bismarck, just like you did before. But this time, as we're going up, I want you to slam on the brakes. And just, once you don't have to slow down on the way in, but I want you to slam on the brakes now. Slam on the brakes, slow, 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 slow. All right, so we were a little late on that. Let's try that again. Go ahead and lift off with bombs again. And there's a reason we're doing this. Practice cruise control to the target. Okay, so you're going to go in on the Bismarck. You're going to put the target reticle basically on the middle of it. And once you click that left button, you're going to slam on the brakes the whole way through. You're not going to wait for it. You're just going to slam on the brakes the whole way through, and you're going to hold that line. Also, we need to be a little more accurate with the mouse movement and drop. So notice what does that do? Well, 1, you actually get to bomb where the reticle was. So that's nice. 2, when you slow down, you pull the reticle more underneath the bombers. So your bombs will have a better down angle. They'll have a more straight line, which means it's more likely that they rip through the deck and go into the citadel because they're not going sideways, they're going down. Oh, break, you're late. Oh, there we go. Okay, cool. So, same thing. So when you're bombing battleships, you want to slow down because slowing down pulls that reticle underneath you, which gives you the better down angle. So let's bomb a cruiser. Start your attack now. Start your attack now. Go full speed. And just bomb when you got it. Now for a cruiser, it doesn't matter because cruisers have less armor. They're smaller ships. The deck isn't so high. So if the bomb goes through, it's probably going to end up hitting Citadel if it's going to hit the Citadel at all. In some cases, it's actually a good idea to throw the bombs forward as opposed to straight down, because bombing some lighter cruisers can actually result in the bombs hitting the Citadel and ripping right through it and bloop, popping into the water before they explode. So sometimes adding a little additional angle is good for cruisers, but it's bad for battleships. Let's do another bombing run real quick just so we can kind of feel it out. And let's strike the Bismarck first using the slow down technique. Now, remember that if the ship was moving, which obviously it's not right now, this is a training room, but if it was moving forward, you would have to put that reticle, instead of dead center on the ship, you'd put it, on the ship's line of travel. What I tend to advocate is you put the gun sight at about the nose of the ship, between the nose and the front gun, because that's often about as much as it needs to be. But in the case of this not moving battleship, we put it on the thing and immediately started slowing down. And did that. So after you make this drop, I want you to keep flying forward for a little bit. Get the boost going, get the boost back up. It's cool. Awesome. Let's bomb a different Bismarck this time, but I want you to keep moving forward. Keep moving forward. Keep moving forward. Keep going away from the battleships. Now you can start to turn. Now, one thing that's really important is going through AA. The longer you spend in AA, the longer you're getting shot in the face. That sucks. So you need to be using boost to get through there. Bismarck AA starts at 5.2, so let's start accelerating around 6 kilometers. Going full speed, full speed, full speed. Put the reticle on one of those targets and do that same slow down strike that we were talking about. Slam on the brakes. You'll notice it's in a different position, but we can still roll forward if we have to. So you can speed up a little, but when you start getting low enough to the water, it's a little hard to make it happen. But if we're going full speed, the reticle's in a different spot now. So let's let the boost regen. We're going to strike a Bismarck again. Now, when we slowed down, we pulled that reticle in. When we sped up, we pushed that reticle out. So this time, instead of bombing directly on the deck, let's bomb off the nose. Let's actually put the reticle a little behind the ship. So full speed, full speed, full speed, full speed, full speed. Put the reticle on either the back gun or the end of the ship, the rear of the ship. Now slam on the brakes, slam on the brakes, slam on the brakes. Slow down, slow down. Note, we're a little bit too far, but that's something that you can refine in practice. So let's go ahead and do that one more time. We're going to attack the battleship at full speed, and then once we've got that reticle placed, you're going to slam on the brakes, you're going to pull the reticle underneath you, and you're going to drop. Why are we doing this? Because we want to go full speed through the AA. We don't want to linger. We don't want to get shot. And two, we want to be able to pull that reticle to give us the correct attack, because if we're not making the correct attack, then we don't get very good damage. So we're getting through AA, but we're setting up ourselves up for success. So full speed, going on the Bismarck. Place that reticle on like the rear turret, basically. Slam on the brakes. Nope, too late. Way too late. You gotta just pass this. So you don't have to be really, really specific with it. It's not about like, oh, is it exactly there? I don't care. There's no bonus points for that. Let your boost regen a little bit. So you need to go further away because you want to be approaching from like 7 kilometers out. We're pretending this is an attack run.
Really? Yeah, it takes practice, I was focused too much on the braking acceleration and I forget to click the attack.
Well, yeah. Okay, so as we're getting close, we're getting to like the 6 kilometers, you start to accelerate. Theoretically, right now you'd be juking flak, and you're going to go in there once it's on the other side of the ship. You click the button and slam on the brakes. Cool, slamming on the brakes, slamming on the brakes. Almost a little too far, but she firms up and cool. Now, if you wanted to, we're going to do one other thing.
Nice.
So lingering in AA, get your stuff killed. Short range AA is the strongest AA. So let's do the same attack, but if we notice that reticle is a little too far back and we have to sit there waiting for a second, 2 seconds, 3 seconds for it to be in the right line, then I want you to know that you can speed up a little and push that reticle forward. So we're going to do everything the same that we just did it, and if that reticle is a little too far low, like a little too far not in the center, you know that you can speed up a little bit and move the reticle, and I want you to see how the reticle moves. So full speed, reticle's on the back of the ship, good, slowing down, slowing down, slowing down, slowing down. It's works out, and speed up a little, speed up a little, speed up a little. You can see how if you speed up, it'll push the reticle forward.
Nice.
So rather than sitting in AA, know that you have boost to allow you to position the reticle where you want it to be, but if the reticle ends up being off, you have boost to be able to correct it. So boost is important. Cruise control is important. Having boost as a resource to assist you in aiming allows you to do the things you need to do. So we're going to take one more strike on a Bismarck with dive bombers, and be happy about life. So full speed. Reticle's on the other side of the target by a little. Good. Slam on the brakes. And you can accelerate to put it exactly where you want to put it. And there's the drop. So, if it were coming to cruisers, it does not matter. You just want to firm the reticle. If the bomb hits and it happens to be in the area where the Citadel is, it's probably going to be a Citadel. Japanese bombers are more accurate than German AP bombers, so they're almost like they're made for anti-cruiser stuff, but they can also deal consistent damage to battleships, which is nice. Your rocket play seemed fine. Your torpedo play seemed fine. The bombs definitely needed work. That's why we went ahead and looked at it. And let's go back into another random game. Now this one will be me jabbering a lot over your shoulder, telling you a bunch of shit.
Absolutely, sir. Wow, that feels awesome.
So don't forget to set it to random. You don't need flags. Flags are a crutch.
Okay.
We didn't have to wait this time.
Nice. How long have you been playing this game?
2.5 years.
Cool.
I joined shortly after the CV rework. Click start battle. So you can use the tab button to be able to see all that information. You want to be in the battle. You want to be loaded in so that you can send your planes off the deck as soon as possible. Some CV players, you know, they look around for a little bit. They think about, no. You don't even have to move in the beginning of the battle. So, rocket planes first. Get them in the air. Okay, so having the carrier move isn't a bad idea, because if the enemy planes happen to spot you, well then long-range battleships can take pot shots at you. But one of the things is you're going to start, there's probably ships in front of you, which means they're going to have some AA. So it's unlikely that the enemy carrier just happens to derp all the way over to you, flying through multiple ships just to come spot you and whatever. So you don't have to be incredibly mobile. Now, Tier 8, Tier 6, Tier 4, it's not a bad idea to be mobile. Please don't get the understanding that I'm telling you to just sit still and wait to die. But sure, there's not a reason to move just for the sake of moving. There's a reason to move if the enemy CV is on top of you. There's a reason to move if you're dancing under gunfire. There's a reason to move if you're moving to support a different flank. But moving just for the fuck of it? No. Leave. Don't attack that. Don't even care about it. Just keep going. You want to drop a fighter somewhere, so fighter's going to continue to spot for you after you're gone. Not here. Left. South more. Sure. Haarlem has very long range. You do not want to fuck with a Haarlem. Haarlem is a Dutch cruiser. It is one of the only line of cruisers that you do not ever want to fuck with, because they are specifically designed to murder planes. Their guns are not very good. Their damage potential is not very good because they're extremely tanky and they are extremely strong with AA. Granted, not very long range AA, but nonetheless, it's still a thing. Okay, so secondly, when you started, you went to basically between B and C. Next game, we're going to go to one of the outside flanks instead of going in the middle. Yes, going in the middle gets you from point A to point B a little faster, but you can only spot two flanks. You spot the mid and you spot the flank you're on now. You don't spot the other one. And as a CV, you want to give as much information to your team as possible so they make better decisions. We've all been in games where the teammates made really poor decisions, which is no fun. So if you enable them, no, you can strike now. I mean, we've passed the spotting phase. The first minute to minute and a half of the game is really a spotting phase where you're trying to get information to your team. After that, sure, you could YOLO a little. Ugh. So they're all moving up. You're getting shot. It's okay. Drop a fighter. So the fighter's going to give you some information, preferably while they shoot it instead of you. And the Trento's in smoke. You could try to harass the DD, but I would rather shoot the ship that's going straight south off on your left. The Aoba, I think it is. Yeah, shoot the Aoba, because the Aoba is leaving any semblance of friendship to go forward for some reason. Hey everybody, shoot me! So sure enough, your team obliges. We already see shells inbound. We can work on the ship that everybody else is working on. Sucks that he's going to go dark every now and then, but because you're lighting him, it's going to help. Aoba's not going to have a lot of AA. He's got an Akatsuki that's going to sit there doing not a lot either. And you're lighting him, you're dealing damage to him, you're working on a focus target. That's the wrong way to turn, because you want to set yourself up for the next strike. You want to see where he is and make a turn to put yourself on his broadside so that you could strike again. So instead of turning to the right there, you wanted to turn to the left so that you could swing around and get the strike. But we're keeping him lit. You're going to go in, you're going to strike him again. That's cool. Speed up. Don't linger in AA. Cool. So bombs. You could torp this, but because he's literally next to an island, you only have one section of torpedoes to go. Now you can move. Do you want to move up to sea and support it a little more? You could do that. You might want to move beneath the Hipper at Pensacola, because that way, if the CV does come over to be an asshole to you, you have some AA in the same area as you, so if he drops a fighter or something, it's going to have to be out of his way. So you always want to be thinking about, like, if you've ever seen, well, you're an American, so you've seen American football. You are a quarterback. You want the big burly dudes between you and the bad guys, not, you know, to just be sitting there in the open waiting for somebody to run up the middle and slam you in the face. So we're going to stay on that cruiser because we can't sit at LDDs. You have a lot of boost. You're in AA. You want to go faster. You don't want to linger in AA. You want to get the hell through it. And you'll also notice that because you're attacking from behind and he's running away, that you're going to be in AA for longer, because it's like you trying to chase somebody. It takes you longer to catch them than if they were running at you. Probably a kill. It is. Now you have 4 planes. One of them's red. You're probably not going to get a big hit here. You could strike the Molotov if you wanted to, but I think you need to start working on the DDs because you don't have many teammates over here. And you have enemy planes coming in. You recall. Well, never mind, too late. You're going to strike. And then he's not going on you. I thought the Lexington was going to strike you, but he veered off for the Hipper. You may have to turn, just in case incoming shells. No, I don't think there's a battleship over here. So, torpedoes. You could try to torp the DDs. I think you said you like doing that, so let's use torpedoes on the Shenyang. I don't know why your team is migrating off to the edge of the world. So you can use torpedoes for the Shenyang. If you hit him with a torpedo, it's a lot of damage. And you'll be on top of him, which is going to keep him lit, because your DD is a Fontask, which has bad detection, so he's not doing anything. He's just running around being a DD. So if you can sit on top of the Shenyang, give them a target to shoot at, that's going to help hold C. If you can find the Akatsuki after and give your team something to shoot at, that's going to help you hold C. Now, you could use rocket planes as well, but Japanese rocket planes are not really great at bingoing DDs because of the amount of time that it takes. That's probably a kill. Let's find the other one. Cool. You can drop a fighter over the Akatsuki and start working on him. So he's smoked. Well, let's leave the fighter. It'll do its thing. We can work on a cruiser, because torping a smoke cloud has the possibility of mattering. Or we could torp a ship that we see and know that it's going to matter. And because that island is there, there's just no drop. So let's go on the thing up in the north, the Molotov. Because I think the Sinop and the Pensacola and all that stuff, they're probably going to end up killing the Trento on their own. So we'll work on the Molotov because that's something that we can strike. Akatsuki's running out of a smoke cloud, but hopefully the Hipper's going to be in pursuit. And they're close enough to a fighter that I don't think we mess with that. This guy probably hugs the island, so you can't torp him, but if you slow down... Okay, maybe lead a little more than that, and let's do it again, but I think that's actually pretty okay. Yeah, so get in there, get in there. The longer you let him recover his rudder and figure out what he wants to do, the worse it's going to go for you. Japanese are not... they're not nimble, but engine boost, heal, engine boost, heal, engine boost, heal. Get up this guy, start attacking. As in, don't attack while you're not looking at him, but like make the turn, get on there, get on him, because right now you see where he's turning, you see where the rudder shift is, so you can lead that target. If you kind of lingering means more damage, means more AA. All right, so we need to deal with the Trento because obviously your team is not. So you can either take bombs for the Trento or you could take torps or rockets for either the Akatsuki or the other thing. But sucks that they were not able to handle a single cruiser, and you may have to camp the Akatsuki when you finish with the Trento. So unfortunately, it looks like the team on the other side of the map has gotten owned, so we need to try to finish what we have over here, preferably faster, so that we can start helping the other side of the map. And I agree with you moving up to shorten your attack lines, or attack times, because it's just a Trento, so you're going to be safe. Lead a little more. Thank you. Start the turn. Get back on this. Okay, cool. Now let's find the Akatsuki, find the DD, because your teammates will find their torps. They won't find the DD. We can't worry about B right now. We just have to worry about getting your team into the fight. Let's pop an engine boost. Let's not dick around with this. We need to find this dude. No, that's a fighter. You wanted to save the fighter. Now you have to sit on top of the Akatsuki. Which is not a bad thing per se, but, you know, that torp actually might hit. He turns into that, I think. Aw. You got to sit on top of him. You can't fly away from him and just kind of watch. You have to camp this dude. You may not even strike him. You may not even torp him at all. Sitting on top of him, keeping him lit for a whole bunch of people to shoot at is going to be more important than trying to kill him yourself. Although that also looks like a good drop. Until he turns in? No. Good. So he's down. Awesome. Fighter still has 24 seconds on it. You could probably take the Molotov. So if we can get an enemy ship off the board, that's going to be big. Let's try to save some boost for when you attack. Don't worry about getting from point A to point B right now. You want to have some boost so that you can help your attack when you do it. Lead more. Lead more. You probably get one there. It's probably a kill. Rockets, don't watch. There's no reason to watch. It's still a tense game. So that's generous. You don't want to be charging literally into the middle of the enemy team. So the rocks that are just south of C are probably an excellent place to go, or the rocks just north of C. You know, something where you still have team presence. It's not a bad idea to put your carrier out there to get shot by the enemy team. Like, hey, look at me, I'm a CV. Don't you want to shoot this? Tap this ass. And people usually will follow that, and you can pull damage off of your team, but you need to do it in a place where it's still safe enough that it's recoverable. Because you have a lot of cruisers. Cruisers are fake health. It's really easy for a cruiser to do something stupid and just get murdered. So, and something might happen. Just let's work on the thing we can see. The Harlem. Engine boost. Engine boost. Okay, you never ever want to do that. You never ever want to skip the animation on rocket planes, because that means that your camera is going to go over directly into the rocket planes while they're directly on top of the ship, getting shot by 100% of all of its AA. You want the animation so that you can maneuver the planes while they're in an invulnerability phase, so you can set up for the next attack. So now you could probably move your carrier into Bravo, because it's looking pretty okay at this point. You can be greedy, but I would just caution, don't expect the win until you see the win. And I mean, it could still even be worse, because again, cruisers are kind of fake health, because one nasty shot from a battleship, dead. And then suddenly, like, you're losing people left and right, and it's like, well, I thought we were winning. Let's not work on the Bismarck. Bismarck is off in the middle of nowhere. Let's work on what your team is firing at. Now, it's a little counterintuitive, because they're more of save your boost. Don't throw your boost away. Cruise control. It's really hard to remember when you get hyped up. Let's work on the stuff that your teammates are working on, because the Bismarck is kind of off doing Bismarck stuff, although he probably is about to murder your whatever the fuck is going into B. So that's kind of sad. But Lexington's dead. Cool. Definitely get to drop the Caracciolo after this. After a few seconds, you're probably going to want to heal, because you're going to be in Harlem AA. So healing now. All right. So you'll have a heal to deal with that. You can strike in on the Harlem, hopefully take him out, and then maybe swing back in on the other dude. Lead more. Now that's not enough. Now if he's turning in, he's basically losing speed, but he's not... you can't assume that he's going to make that mistake. I mean, I guess you could. You just... he's probably going to turn in, and then whatever. In that case, sure. But if he just chose to sail straight, he takes 1 torp there. Potentially none if you manage to speed better. And you should have a shot on the Caracciolo. One thing to remember about Italian battleships, Italians have good AA, but it's short range, so they're good at protecting themselves. Okay, like that. Bombs for the Bismarck. Torp's okay too. Torps are fine. But in general, so you have AP bombs. There are going to be some targets that you can citadel, right? And you want to use your stuff to the best potential that you can use it. So if you could citadel a battleship, great. Well, if you run out of battleships you can citadel and there's nothing you can citadel left, well then your AP bombers are basically worthless because they're just not going to do very much. If they don't get citadels, they don't matter. So in that issue, you want to be able to use a resource that has a limited number of targets on those limited number of targets, as opposed to using a general resource like torpedoes that you could use on literally anything. Destroyers, CVs, battleships, cruisers, whatever. So we can go ahead and play again.
That was so cool, man. I feel more in control than ever. Thanks a lot.
Well, don't worry. As soon as I'm not on your shoulder, it'll be like, fuck, what do I do? But this is something that you can watch, watch, rewatch, feel it out, and try to, understand why are we doing what we're doing when we're doing it. And ultimately, the more you play, the more you learn, the more you get by sense of repetition. It's just, that is what it is. So, first things first, what are you going to start your scout with?
Rockets.
Rockets, because they're fast. Are you going to pre-drop?
Nope.
I would say no, because you never know what's going to happen until it happens. And if you pre-drop, that means that you're expecting not to have a second strike. Third, where are you going to fly off the deck? You're going to fly south of A. You're not going to go to B. So fly to the bottom of A. So that F3 area, F3, F4, you're going to go down there, you're going to drop a fighter. That fighter's going to last for a minute, and as the enemy ships move closer to A, as they always do, that fighter's going to start to spot stuff while you're already in B, potentially on your way to C, able to spot other shit. And because the fighter is in A, if a destroyer wanted to go into A, it's either A, gets lit by the fighter, or B, turns on its AA to shoot it down. Either way, it's going to have some kind of interaction that's going to keep it the fuck out of A for a little while. So a little more, a little more, a little more, a little more, and off to the right, and drop your fighter. Fighter. Turn left and start scouting. Left. As soon as you see a battleship, you are about to be shot by a cruiser, which is exactly what happened. So once you see a battleship, you already want to be turning. You're not sitting there lingering, waiting to get shot, take free damage. You're moving. You don't have to be close to the Moskva. You just need to be able to see battleships. Your fighter's going to spot the other stuff as it's moving forward, and try to save your boost right now, because you don't know if you might end up tripping into an AA trap or something, where suddenly somebody with way too much AA surprises you. Could be a Holland, because there is a tier 10 match, although I didn't look if there are Hollands on the enemy team. Looks like there's not. But so now we've gotten A, we got B spotted, we got C spotted. Now you can pre-drop, because we haven't tripped across a target of opportunity, and then find something that you want to just kind of throw some damage into. You don't have a good line on the Buffalo, but, well, there's a DD if you wanted to piss them off. Do whatever you want to do. Just don't take a lot of time doing it, because now that we've identified what's on the enemy team, we can start to think about what our decisions are. Your computer does not like AA. So recall, and let's head out. So how about torpedoes? Torpedoes are good. There's a Monarch that's transitioning. We could work on that. There's a Worcester, Iowa that are on top of each other. That's a problem. There's a Moskva, North Carolina. That's a problem. So kind of need to look for openings right now. The Worcester, Iowa together is really, honestly, kind of a bitch. There's a lot of people together, but you might be able to strike the Monarch. Depends on where he's going. If nothing else, you can give some information, which will be nice. So when you get to like the middle of B, you could drop a fighter just for generalized spotting. But you just want to make sure that if you're dropping a fighter for spotting, you're not close enough to get it shot down by AA, because you want that full minute duration. So often you'll drop it like 6 to 7 kilometers away from something. More like 7 is probably the safer thing. Whoa. Your connection's freaking out. Recall, because there's a fighter there. The fighter will latch and you'll lose planes. Cool, so you've used some rockets, you've used some torps, now you're using bombs. That's at least kind of spreading the resource regen around, so you're trying to get as many resources as possible. Did you get any torps back? If you look off to the left. Wow, your thing is completely screwy. 3. Alright, so may have dived a little too deep for the Monarch. Ideally, if you're using torps, you want to peck at a group from the outside. You're not trying to go in and really harass it. You're trying to deal with things from the edges. Also, we might have pre-dropped here because a Worcester's going to deal extreme amounts of damage, and we're definitely going to have to talk about flak because that was not good flak play. Please restart your connection. So close your display thing and open it back up in Discord because this is really rough. Okay. So how about we go on that Iowa on the outside? Because we saw how much fun it was to deal with the Worcester. So you could bomb the Iowa if you wanted to. Torping is going to be a little awkward. Because the torps are going to... you're only going to have a one-way attack. And the other thing is you'd have to go in all the way from the outside, whereas here you can just go in. So let's pre-drop, because after you strike the Iowa, there's going to be a Worcester that's opening up into you. So it's only going to be a one-way trip. And let's save the boost. Well, okay, you can cruise control. Cruise control's fine, but once you start getting into that 7 kilometers, you're going to want to start accelerating. Now look off a little to the right. So accelerate, and now start slowly turning in, more, and last, okay, cool, and now attack. You'll notice that the flak was pushed off to the edges instead of being directly between you and the ship, because the flak gunners are trying to lead you to be able to do the thing. Unfortunately, the Worcester moved, so he was able to assist with AA, and you got your shit shredded. But the goal is, when you're making an attack, when you're moving in, the flak gunners lead where your planes are looking. So if you just look at the ship and you fly straight at the ship, you're going to be flying through a wall of flak. Now at tier 6, that doesn't matter, because tier 6 has really, there's almost no flak, so there's always holes you can slide through and this shit and that shit. That is not the case. You need to spot the Summers. He's on your left. You need to spot the Summers. You need to just sit on top of the Summers until he's dead. You could even bomb him if you wanted and go for the BM strike, but you have to give the Missouri as much of a chance to not get murdered for free here as possible. What? Why'd you recall? Did you only have 3 planes?
Yeah, only 3 planes.
Yeah, so in the future, never. Just, if you only have two or three planes, just don't even attack. Just sit on top of them. But the good thing is, he's dead. Awesome. You providing vision matters more than you getting an overpen for 600 damage. It would be nice if the overpen killed the Summers. That would be cool. Or you could have dropped a fighter on top of them. In which case, you could have attacked because there's a fighter there. Unfortunately, the Missouri is dead. So... that's unfortunate, but it is what it is. You don't have good attacks on any of the stuff over at A because it's all tier 10. You probably still want to kind of work on that Iowa. Or I guess you could work on the Monarch. Yeah, so you're looking at the Monarch, but Is the Monarch a good target? Good target, yes, because you might get resets. It's not a good target because nobody else is shooting it. Nope, wrong way, wrong way. For your carrier, you need to change that when you can. And Japanese attack planes do not turn once they turn green. You want to go off to the 1-2 line. You want to use the Amagi Montana, because if you're just going mid, your team is losing mid. So the enemy just walks through and shoots you. You want to go off to the 2 line. And speaking of, you want to help with that Iowa, because you really can't strike anything else. You're not going to be able to kill the Wooster. You're not going to be able to kill the Monarch. Well, maybe you can kill the Monarch, but whatever. And the enemy CV also doesn't have good targets, so he's wasting time shooting you because he's like, fuck, what else do I do? Being up-tiered can suck. Okay. So you're working on the Iowa. Once you get the Iowa out of the way, you're going to hard support those 2 battleships on the 2 line because you need people not to be dead. Unfortunately, surprise motherfucker Moskva, you're going to have to strike the Moskva. Strike the Moskva because you can't fly across him without getting hurt. Use your heal. Use your heal. Use your heal. Good. Lead him correctly. Double click, double click, double click. Click and skip the animation. Go in on the Iowa. Go in on the Iowa. Slow down. It's a little too much. You can probably just attack. Just throw an attack and bail so that you get away from this AA. So when the Moskva presented, hey, deal with me instead of you, you immediately have to stop looking at the Iowa because you're not going to be able to fly across a Moskva without being just ripped apart. So you're going to have to figure out how do you want to interact with that. You could use a slingshot to get across the AA. You could just strike the Moskva, and then if you skip the animation really quickly, or maybe you drop a little early, you can set yourself up for the strike on the Iowa while trying to get across the AA without getting murdered. You might get rockets into the Wooster. That'd be cool. That might actually result in a kill if he doesn't heal. Cool. All right, so there's a bad dude down. Fighter, 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 fighter. Give the information. And now you can go in on the Moskva. So you're going to be giving your teammates an idea as to where the hell this cruiser is so he doesn't murder them, which is good. We're definitely going to have to talk about flak. Never skip the animation on rockets. Ever. Just don't ever do it. Never skip the animation on rockets. You can recall, because you don't have enough health to go back in. If you didn't skip the animation, you may have had a second strike there. But when you do, you're waiting for your planes to reload, and not only that, your planes are too close to make an attack anyway. They have to fly away, so they're just getting shot in the face for free. So you want to use the animation as a buffer to help get your planes into position for the next strike. Kagero is probably going to kill your battleships, which sucks, but I mean, what else? I don't think you can do it. You have to be on the Moskva. Just, that's what there is. You're a little too close to turn in on that. You want to give yourself a little more space. Lazy turn left, lazy turn left. Alright, so we're going to have to talk about a little more about the bombers. And also we have to talk about flak. Alright, Moskva's going to ram, I think, which is strange. But can you torp the Kagero?
Yep.
How much health does the North Carolina have off on the left? Some. Okay, you need to retreat your carrier. You need to run away. Preferably up the 2 line. And you do have a fighter that you can fighter the Kagero so that you can get good strikes off. So you do have that. Fighter. Cool. So odds are you're probably not going to kill a CAG. I mean, you can try. Working on the North Carolina is going to be a good choice because you can kill the North Carolina. And now that your ship is running away from the CAG, you're probably okay-ish, but turn off to the right, please. Wouldn't that be hilarious if that hits? It might actually hit. That's pretty hilarious because you got favored by dispersion on that one. Well, I guess maybe we stay on it. If you can get the kill, cool. So the North Carolina, you can Citadel, you can also obviously torp him. Ooh, he's turning to give you some help. I don't know if you led enough there. No. Alright, so at this point, we can't mess with the North Carolina anymore. Or we can't mess with the Kikero. Lead more, lead more, lead more, lead more. Too late. Well, maybe he actually runs away into the torp. He does. Cool. Alright, so we have to kill the North Carolina. Because you need your Worcester to live. Just drop before your planes die. Just drop. Alright, bombs, because you don't have any torps. And there you go. That's good movement.
Cruise control is hard.
It is, especially when you get your adrenaline up. So, you know, it's something to really work on in the beginning of the game, but yeah, it's really easy to just forget about it as the game continues. It's really tough. So, there's the Worcester dead. So, if we had the North Carolina down, we'd still have a Worcester. The Worcester would be able to take the A-cap. But if we can kill the North Carolina, then we can cap the A-cap, which will be good. Shit. Recall. God damn, they're all dead. Okay, torps. Have to pay attention to flak. We're gonna go over that because that's just not working out for us. Cruise control. Don't aim at the mountain. Go to the left. If you aim at the mountain, your planes go up and you lose horizontal travel speed because your speed turns into vertical. So you slow down across the map.
You know that. Thanks.
So 2 torps is a kill. Heal. Lead more. Good. That should be a kill. Take A. And start heading over to the carrier. You need to get damage into the carrier. He's being chased by a DD, which is good. Haragumo's ripping him up or whatever. And since it's a Shokaku, I mean, if the Haragumo knows how to dodge torps and juke rockets, then literally the Haragumo cannot be killed. So whoever the Haragumo player is, NIN, I don't know who that is. He's still alive, but he's gotten a ton of damage in, which is great. So, alright, you should have pre-dropped by now, only because you're striking a carrier, so you're going to lose any remaining planes you have after you strike. But it's okay. Because after you get 2 torps into this, the Haragumo kills it, or you rocket them. Recall. These are all dead. The planes are on you, they kill 4. So, rockets. And there you go. That's the win.
Awesome. Thanks a lot, man.
We're going to go back
I
into
learned
the...
more in a couple hours with you than in the last year. Thanks a lot.
Yeehaw. So what was your score?
58.
No. Team score. Base XP.
Base XP is
16?
1600.
Yeah, Des Moines came up huge, I guess. Somebody pulled this team back, and I guess it was Des Moines. All right, so go to port. We're gonna hop back into a training room. Okay. All right. How do we do this? Okay, so we're gonna do. First off, we're gonna do bombing. So hit create, just nothing to change here. Create. You're gonna ready up in your Shokaku, and I don't care what you, well, I do care what you pick. So add player, and pick a tier 5 battleship. Don't care what it is, just tier 5 battleship. Rockin'. And ready up and go. Oh, wait, actually, click bot is armed, and then hit add. There you go. You can, it's fine. Just, that's fine. Hit ready and go. So one of them will shoot AA at you. It's not a big deal. Tier 5 is specific because tier 5, tier 6, they're going to have reduced amounts of flak. Why? Because tier 5 is still a learning tier. A new player, first experience in a carrier is tier 4. Very low AA, almost no flak at all. Tier 6, you're going to start to see flak. You're going to see a few pieces of it. So when you do this, I want you to make attack runs on the battleships. Just go straight. You don't have to turn or whatever. Just go in and straight and attack the Koenig. Actually, I'm going to revise that. What I want you to do, I want you to do a 90-degree turn to strike whatever Koenig you're striking. I want you to get close, and I want you to turn in real aggressively and strike that Koenig with bombs. Bombs. I want you to see how much you can turn and still get that strike off. Venji, how is he pink? He left a battle because I said I was ready to go, so. Okay, so that was like 4 degrees off. Cool. I want you to turn even more. I want you to strike the other one. I want you to strike the other Koenig. And I want you to turn really hard. Oh, is there even flak coming out of this? Oh, yep. There is. There's a flak. So we see there's flak. It's between you and the enemy, but what can you do? You see the flak, you move it. I do not want you to strike straight. I want you to turn. I want you to be, once you left click, I want you to turn like 30 degrees, 40 degrees. I want you to turn when you're going in on these strikes. What you're doing is not wrong. These are good strikes, but I'm telling you to do it a different way so that you can feel what that's like. I want you to strike, yeah, knock him off, cool. And I want you to make this, no. I want you to strike the battleship that's not like it, that's a bad strike. Recall, take out more planes, take out more bombs. I want you to fly to F6, and then I want you to strike Nakimov, the far Koenig, from F6. Basically, I want you to be too close to the battleship, and I want you to click and turn in on top of it. And there's a reason why I'm doing this. So there's the far one, Nakimov. I want you to strike in from the front, to the right, the other battleship, I want you to move a little more to the right, and I want you to turn in while you're attacking. So from here, that's fine. Start your attack. Ah, man, I'm not describing this very well. Okay. So I want you to turn to the right, keep turning right, and go in that direction. Oh, God. Here, recall. Just do me a favor. I'm going to try to explain what I'm trying to do here, because this is not it. Okay, I want you to think of a clock, right? You think of a clock in your head, not one that has like digital numbers, like the one with the hands and stuff, right? I want you to strike a battleship where your planes, if they're going like straight up and down on that clock, that battleship is at like 10 o'clock from you. A significant angle. Does that make sense?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so like 9 or 10 o'clock. I want an angle. I want that thing where your reticle is there and this thing is just almost damn near sideways to you or whatever, and you're gonna turn and you're gonna make the strike.
Okay. Cool.
So let's go out there and let's make that happen. So I want you to be going in at the Koenig. He's at like 10 o'clock. You left click the button and then you're trying to turn, you're trying to make that hit. So we're not going to go on Villanova because that one has AA. We're going to go for Nakimov.
So not Villanova?
Yeah, the one that's not shooting you.
Okay.
So this is a no. So in this case, you're trying to do the right thing, which is good. I'm trying to tell you to do the wrong thing, which is probably why this is extremely confusing. Turn left and fly away for a little bit. I want you to attack the Koenig basically sideways, but I want you to try to turn and see how hard you can turn the bombers while you're in the attack to see if you can rescue the strike.
Oh, okay.
Reticle a little more left. Click the button. There you go. So hard turn. So you'll notice when you're trying to turn for this, the reticle doesn't shrink. That was kind of the big goal I'm going for, but it just took a long time because I think I was poor at expressing it.
No, that's fine.
So go ahead and recall, and we're just going to talk for a second. So there was a time there where in that last game, you went to attack the Iowa, right? And you were moving in close, probably to keep the island between you and the Iowa so he didn't shoot you in the face with AA. Perfectly understandable. But you were so close that you wouldn't have the ability to turn and be able to strike. Now, if you were in US planes, you can turn like little ballerinas in the sky. But in Japanese planes, you cannot. Japanese planes have long attack lines. You want to come in on a really solid line. You want to make it happen. So I just wanted to, emphasize, and it took like 5 minutes and it was very frustrating, so my apologies. I just wanted to emphasize that if your planes are ever too close to the enemy ship, that when you start that attack, you can't turn in hard. So return to the training room, and we're going to change this a bit. So now we're going to talk about flak. Because there were times where we had an issue. So we just saw what it looked like when we dealt with tier 5 Koenig flak, when there's 1 or 2 puffs. And basically, you can forget about it. It doesn't exist, right? So go ahead and remove those 2, and I want you to add in a Worcester, an armed Worcester. Or if you want to do a battleship, we could do a battleship as well. But, something that's tier 10 that's going to have significant amounts of AA, not German. So if you want to do a Montana, you can do a Montana. If you want to do a Worcester, you can do a Worcester. You can do whatever you want to do. I don't care.
What nation is a Worcester?
US, it's a cruiser. US cruiser Worcester. Worcester. I don't know how to say its name actually. Worcestershire? I don't know. It's a cruiser. It's all the way at the bottom. Cool. Just one.
Not moving?
One is a lot. Not moving, just armed. Because we want it to have AA. Cool. Go ahead and ready up. So while we're waiting for this thing to load in, I'm going to describe what's going to happen. So the Worcester, which is what I call it, it has 7 or 8 flak puffs. So the way that flak works is that a single ship will throw up to 80% of its flak in front of your planes, and the remainder of it is going to go off to the left and off to the right, because it's spillover. And a single ship can do up to 6 flak puffs in front of you, and then the remainder will be off to the left and to the right. So most likely, most of the flak is going to be directly in front of your face with a little spill off over to the left and the right. Just stay grounded. We'll keep recalled. We're just talking right now, because last time I was trying to tell you stuff while we're moving. It just made it really obnoxious. So the Worcester is going to throw lots of stuff in front of you, which means if you're going to just fly directly at the Worcester, you're going to be walking through a field of AA, like a minefield that's just waiting to blow your legs off. And in the lower tiers, you can slip through the cracks because there's just not that much flak. But when you get to tier 10, it gets really obnoxious. So it's not about slipping through the holes, it's about tricking the flak gunner. So what we're going to do is, you're going to start going after the Worcester, and about 7 kilometers, we're actually going to end up using a battleship to really teach you how to move about this. But when you go in on the Worcester, what you're going to try to do, remember how we did that lazy turn to the left, right?
Right.
The reason why that worked is when the flak gunners shot, they looked at where your planes were pointing, and they led straight ahead, and they put the flak there. But you kept lazily turning to the left, so you missed that flak cloud. And then they did the same thing. They shot again, and they looked at where your planes were pointing, and they shot ahead of it, but you kept lazily turning to the left, which puts you out of that flak cloud too. So if you could curl in to make a strike, and you put the flak away from your face so that you can curl in. Does that make sense?
Yes.
So we're going to try and see that in practice. You're going to use your AP bombers, you're going to strike the Worcester, and see if you can get through.
All right. Let's do it.
Unfortunately, because it's a cruiser, it's going to be hard to see, but now you can see it. So lazy turn in. Now, that's not really a lazy turn. That's kind of like a hard turn. Lazy turn. Lazy turn. Now you're inside AA anyway. Recall. Recall. Okay, do it again. So a lazy turn is just kind of like slowly loping off to the left at speed. Not these hard left and rights and whatever. You want to, how am I going to approach the Worcester? I want to come into the Worcester from the front. Okay, so I have an idea of where I'm going in. Worcester spotted. I'm going to lazy turn up into the front of the Worcester. So look a little more to your right, to your right, to your right, to your right, and then lazy turn to the left into the Worcester. Lazy turn, lazy turn, lazy turn, lazy turn. As you get within 3.5, the flak is going to stop being aimed, and then you can start to make those strikes. You turned into a flak cloud there. But now, if you had better positioning, if you had started that lazy turn a little later, you may have been able to come in and make that happen. Now, one thing to remember is, do you know where flak stops being aimed?
3 kilometers?
3.5. So ideally, you never want to look at the ship. You know, you never want your planes actually going straight at the ship until past 3.5, because the flak gunners will just throw a big wall of flak between you and the ship because you looked at it, and now you have to fly through it because you're really close and you have to go to the ship. So it's almost like you're doing some side eye. You know, you're checking out a girl at the bar, but you don't want her to know that you're checking her out,
Right.
but you kind of want her to be aware that you might be checking her out, or whatever, shit like that. You're eyeballing your target, but you're not just being blatant about it. So
Right.
let's torp the Worcester. You're not going to be going in on the nose. You're going to be going in on the side, but the similar idea with the lazy turn. So most of the flak is pushed ahead of you. Now see, you're looking at the ship before 3.5. You were able to use torpedoes, which go underneath, so you were able to juke that last flak wall to be able to make your strike, but that's the basic concept. However, we're going to look at it a little better. So we're going to go back to the training room, and we're going to change the Worcester for a Montana, which is a US battleship. Okay, so now we're going to try to learn flak correctly. Now, the lazy turn is a really ad hoc method that you can use because it's functionally correct, but we're going to try and do this the better way. So I want you to kind of like, while we're doing this timer, I want you to mentally think about this. Here's how flak actually works. The Montana has 6 kilometer AA. As soon as you trip across the 6 kilometer, for about the first half a second, you know, second is 1/1000, 2/1000, 3. So for that first half a second, that long, whatever. For about that first little fraction of a second, those flak gunners are going to take a bead on your planes, and then they're going to shoot. So now they're going to be like, okay, target locked. They're going to shoot. They found a spot off in the distance ahead of your planes, wherever the hell they're pointed, and that's where they're going to throw a bunch of flak. So you know this because you're a smart pilot, you're a smart guy, and you're going to start turning after that first half a second because you know they've already shot the shells in the air. They can't change it. So just like if you're in a surface ship and you see, oh, somebody shot at me, you might slow down and turn because then the shells will miss. Same thing with the flak shells. So after that first half a second, you're going to start to turn. And about 2 seconds later, so 1/1000, 2/1000, 1/1000, 2/1000, 1/1000, 2/1000. About 2 seconds later, those flak gunners are going to have another bead, and they're going to shoot, and they're going to attack another area in the sky. So you're going to start to feel what I call the flak waltz. But as part of this, we're going to have something. They're not going to shoot flak at the place that they shoot once. They're actually going to shoot twice. So are you familiar with a waltz? Are you musically inclined at all?
Not really.
Cool. So
I can keep the rhythm.
Sure. So Waltz is like it's a triple. So dot 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 dot. Well, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. No, I'm sorry. Waltz would be more than thirds. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2. So in this case, if you think of flak in terms of a waltz, you've got an initial explosion, boom, boom. Both of those explosions are in the same spot, and then the next boom is in the new spot. So 1, 1, 2, 2, 3. 3, 4, and you're going to be constantly moving between those spots. So as soon as they fire, you know, that's a danger zone. You're going to be moving around it, set a new danger zone, move around it, set a new danger zone. And usually if you're moving at a good speed and a carrier that's got fast planes, you can probably breach their AA within about 3 flak walls or 3 flak things, and then you're inside and you can make your strike. So here's what we're going to do. You're going to take torpedo planes. You're going to think about that lazy turn to the left, right? You're going to think about the lazy turn to the left, and you're going to want to get to the Montana's broadside. As soon as you cross 6 kilometers, you know in your head, half a second, those flak gunners have shot. I need to turn, which is the lazy turn, right? About 2 seconds later, they're going to shoot again. So you can continue to turn in, maybe turn a little harder or something. And then there's that last flak wall. And because you're in torpedo planes, you could look at the ship and go underneath it if you want to. You start your attack around like 3.6 or something. Or you could pick a line where you can continue to keep turning and out-turn it. Maybe you look away from the ship, place that wall, and then turn in, strike, etc. So I gave you a lot of information. It's going to be hard to remember it all. Probably going to fuck it up, no worries. But let's go ahead and take some torpedo planes and strike the Montana and see how well that goes.
All right.
So the more broadside you look at, the harder it's going to be to lazy turn, because you want the ability to kind of move. So 6 kilometers, flak, 1, 1, 2, 2, 3, 3, 4, 4, 5. So one thing that's wrong, we're going to recall here. You can drop if you want to, whatever. Recall. So one thing, you didn't boost. Boost is extremely important. Why? Because I want you to imagine this will be a silly example. I want you to imagine you have like a 5-year-old kid and you're trying to play catch with your 5-year-old kid. But, you know, maybe you got a devil streak in you and you got like a Nerf football. So rather than actually catch the kid, you're more like going to peg him in the head with the football because, I don't know, maybe he's being annoying that day. So you've got your kid and he's just walking forward. And you throw the ball a little distance in front of him and he walks into it, bam. Do you have to lead him a lot? No, because he's walking slow. Well, what if you have the kid run? Well, then you have to lead a lot because he's going really far, right? He's going fast, so you have to lead the football ahead and pop, you nail the kid, you knock him over, whatever. In this case, when you're going through, the faster your planes are going, the further the flak gunners have to lead you, which means the more space you have between you and the flak puffs. So the further away the explosions are, the less likely you get hurt, right? So you always want to have speed to be able to push that flak away from you so that you have the ability to turn and maneuver and change and do whatever you're going to do so that you're safe. So when you make your attack run, the whole reason with the cruise control and all that shit is to have enough boost so that you can have the speed to push the stuff away from you. So let's try it again. Not a very PC example.
It's good. Actually good. Have you do any other kind of teaching, like music? Or
I did teach drumming to a girl in high school, but mostly because I liked her, not that I was great at it. So speed up. So there's not a lot of lazy turn to the left when you're already on the broadside. So now you're just looking at it and hey, look, there's flak walls. But you were able to go under the flak because torpedo bombers can go under the flak. So that actually worked out pretty well. But it's still worth trying to remember the fundamentals about why you're doing stuff and trying to dodge the flak instead of just finding a way that happens to work with this specific squadron. So you can recall, go back in with the other torpedo planes, just do it again. I want you to do this 2 or 3 more times just so you can kind of feel ideally what the flak is doing so that you can make informed decisions around how flak is done so that you're not just walking in and getting vaporized. My voice is already torched.
Boy.
I talk a lot when I teach.
Yeah, you explain a lot.
So in AA, 1, so there's 1, 1, 2, 2, 3, 3, 4, 4, 5, etc. So I think you took a little, but it's still worth kind of thinking about how to place it. Going with bombs. Good morning, Rosgriz.
Does the flag behaves the same if you're moving outwards or inwards?
It doesn't care. It just leads you. Like, again, like trying to throw the football at the little kid. All you're doing is throwing it along the kid's line of travel, because otherwise you'd just miss, right? So what happened there? You turned to the right. As you turned to the right, the flak was shot. You started turning back to the left, and you just walked through where the flak was put. So you put the flak in a position, and then you turned right in and through it. So at tier 6, you can do that because there's almost no flak. You can probably avoid it. At tier 10, you cannot. So, you know, your tier 8 carriers, you have a pretty good win rate on, 60, 70% or something, but your tier 10s are very low. Tier 10 flak is a completely different animal than tier 8, which is probably what's gatekeeping you from being able to attack things because there's just too much damn flak. Turn to the right, turn to the right, turn to the right. So you place the first wall, turn to the left. Nope. Okay. That's too much turning. Recall. All right. I'm going to kick open the thing. I'm going to kick open my game, and I'm going to stream to you to show you.
All right.
Just wanted to kind of go back to that screen.
Do I close my stream?
You can. Screen, World of Warships. Probably be okay. I think I can stream all right. So I'm going to go into a training room and I'm going to kind of try to show you what I'm talking about. Unfortunately, it's not very easy to do. There's a gentleman in chat, Purple Aliens, that did record a video trying to show flak stuff as well. And this is a pretty common talking point across multiple coaching sessions because it's such a big deal. So are you watching?
Yes, sir.
Rockin'. So we're going to change this to a Montana. Boop. We'll do the Montana. Let's, we were talking about the Shokaku, yeah? So this, I don't care, there's not a captain. We'll live. So what we're going to try to do is make an informed decision about where we're placing the flak. And my timing might be off. I might end up hitting flak. Even the best players hit flak. It's just a thing that happens. Now, also, it's worth remembering that the more ships that are in an area, a Montana might throw 6 flak puffs. A Worcester might throw 8 flak puffs. Well, when you add those together, that's 14. 14 is a hell of a lot more than something you might see at tier 6 or tier 8, which is more like 3 or 5. Because you might have a ship that throws 2 and another ship that throws 3. So it's a completely different order of magnitude. All right, so we're going to come in with the bombers. We see the Montana. So we're going to be kind of coming in on this line. We're going to come over here, or I'm going to maybe come in on this. I'll pull to the right. The first flak puff will be here. We'll pull off to our right. We'll pull left. The second flak puff will be there, and then we'll try to aim off the side of the Montana to put flak so that we can swing inside the flak. This is at least what I'm hoping to do. So we're going to accelerate. First flak will be over here. Turn in. So we juke most of that wall. We didn't have enough time really to change that. Put the last wall there, and we are within the 3.5 so that we can come in and try to make the strike. There is a little off angle, which is not so great, but such is life. We're going to try and do that again. But we're just
pretty good.
We're just trying to make sure that when we're doing it with intention. We're doing it with an understanding of what we're trying to make happen.
It's kind of having a maze of levering in the sky, so you have to go through those gaps between the walls.
Yeah, it's a little bit of a maze. So first flak we're gonna put out here. Well, that actually shot early. That was weird. It shot at 6.1. That's unfortunate. Maybe there's a server delay there. So Montana should have 6 kilometer AA, but sometimes it feels like it fires early, and I don't know why that happens. But one of the reasons I do say start to accelerate at 7, so that when you do trip across the AA, you are at least primed. So flak should be pushed out there. It is. Flak will be in here. Flak will be over on our left, and then we've come in and gotten to a point where we could strike. If we were in bombers, we'd be striking head on. All right, do one more with bombs. It's just we want to go about the process knowing what we're doing, knowing what our decisions are achieving, knowing what's actually occurring. So we'll try to let this go. So we could go maybe for a more frontal attack, I guess. We'll start to get this at 6. We're going to place over here. Initial flak should be out. It is. Next flak is there. Actually caught our turn a little better than possible, so we try to find a hole to kind of get through, but it is what it is. So I think I mistimed the second wall, or I mentally placed the second wall, so we ended up going through it, which is unfortunate. Would the approach be similar against a Holland? All flak operates the same way. So Holland flak, Montana flak, all flak operates the same way. It reads your planes, it tries to lead them, and it puts flak areas between you and your destination. So initial flak, second flak, third flak. Unfortunate. And because we slowed down, we don't have enough room to maneuver, so we're just going to throw the heel and try to juke. Now, because we had torpedo planes, we could have used it maybe where we started the attack a little earlier, just to go under that last wall. Let's try and make a least time approach in on the Montana and see if we can somehow make this happen. We probably lose one plane to continuous, but if we can avoid the flak, we can go in and make the strike. So rather than try and point out flak walls, I'm just going to try and play, so you might be able to see what I do as opposed to me describing it. So just try to mentally have a picture, I guess.
Sure.
So pull off to the right, see if we can place it. Second flak, third flak wall, inside 3.5. We lost one plane on approach, and we do get to drop. So you had performed that strike actually, but that's, again, as long as we know what we're expecting, then we can go about and actually make it happen. So yes, the lazy turn, it's a method that does work, but let's do this. Now we have 3 Montanas, so we'll have quite a bit more flak. So if we don't place it, we die. Also, having multiple ships, there's a bit of a split in the community as to how the flak works. If the flak the AI all just merges it up together and it's all one big thing, or if different ships can have different timings. If different ships have different timings and we have 3 different Montanas firing at different places, it's going to be very hard to not go through flak, because we're always going to be shells landing splash, 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 splash. So we'd constantly be having to juke and stuff. So one thing that we can try to do is to strike all three AA zones at the same time, so we can firm them all up together and then try to maneuver around that as able. So we'll come in at a nice flat line to this so that we can kind of piss them all off at the same time and then see if we can juke flak. So 7, we're going to start to accelerate. We off angle a little bit. Flak should start coming in. We start seeing the walling effect because there's more than just the center. There's too much. We'll try this again. Does it get trickier when you enter multiple flak ranges at different times? I.e. ship at 6, another at 5. That is basically what I'm trying to describe. The other reason I'm going through this is there was a time where you were striking a Friesland and there were multiple other ships. You can see what it looks like at higher tiers when you have more flak stacking on top of each other. Not only does it hit in front of you, but because there's additional flak spilling over, you start getting flak walling, where even if you turn, there's still a shitload of flak that you have to deal with that's in your way. So when you start having two ships, the system is kind of designed around 2 ships. But when you start having 3 ships, 4 ships, 5 ships, you start having walls that you can't get through. And while it might only place a certain amount of flak in front of you, I think the number is 8, the fact that you have all this spillover means that you don't really get to do the left and right and turning and shit. It's constantly there. So there's going to be a point where you're going to hit 3 ships, 4 ships, etc. You don't get to juke this shit. You don't anymore. So in that first battle we played, you lost a lot of torpedo bombers working on basically a group of like 5 or 6 ships. There's no reasonable way that you could expect your planes were not going to get murdered. But how if you when you're going to strike a hard target like this 3 Montanas, you know, this is ideally, there's 4 minutes left in the game. There's nothing else you can do. So you have to strike this because this is the difference between winning or losing. This is when you lose all your shit. So.
Understand.
All right. So we'll do one more game and then, well, it's been basically 2 hours, so that's quite a lot of time.
It is.
And my mind is already starting to shit out on me. So if you go ahead and pop up your stream, we'll do one more random battle and then I will stop. Hey, Stronk. Been a while, dude. All right. Don't forget to set it to random. Hello, Sad Panda. It has indeed been more than a minute. I used to be in a clan with Stronk. Clan ended up splitting off. I think he joined the 07 community. I don't know which 07 clan he's in at the moment, but I know he's in one of them. I think he changed his name, so I don't know what his name is currently. Alright, so we'll have one more game to derp around, and I'll yip at you and stuff. So I'm gonna get some water, just because my voice is fried, and hopefully by that point you've logged in. Don't forget to start the battle before the cooldown is finished, so you can take off with the rocket planes immediately. And let's go for a cap that's not in the center, so you can get that fighter down for off angle spotting, and then you go across whatever. I'll be right back.
Got it, thanks.
Okay, well that's cool. You're not in the center, so you can just drop a fighter around maybe D3 and then head on over and check out Bravo and Charlie.
Roger.
Be wary.
Oh, you left last year? Oh, I didn't know that. Okay. Why don't you restart your Discord thing when you can? Because it's doing a lot of jumpy weirdness. Is it set to 15 frames per second?
Yes, it is.
Hopefully that's better. So you can drop a fighter about now, because if DD wants to go into ACAP, they're going to interact with the fighter, and don't turn. As soon as you see battleships, you're about to get shot in the face by cruisers. No reason to lose health for free. So don't be afraid to use an engine boost if it's going to save you planes. You know, you use an engine boost 1 to help you with an attack. You can use an engine boost to help you get the fuck out. If you trip across a Holland and he's starting to murder all your shit, you know, don't be afraid to throw an engine boost and bail. If it's going to save you 4 or 5 planes, that's potentially like 4 or 5 minutes of regen, so it's worth it. Your Kleber in A is positioning wrong. He's just charging forward, waiting to get shot. It's kind of sad. Hopefully he doesn't get reset. Okay, so pre-drop, and you'll just be able to kind of attack into something. I suppose you could circle back and drop a fighter for the Jutland, but I don't think you need to. He's got a Bayard behind him, he's got smoke, he'll probably fine. So really you can just drop a fighter here for spotting and attack something. Because if the Jutland's in smoke, then whatever. So this is a higher tier match, so you will need to kind of remember what you're doing about flak, and that did seem to work out pretty okay. Cool. Skip the animation, recall, and take off with something else. I don't really see anything amazing to strike at, but you're probably going to work on stuff on the 2 line because that's what's closer to you. Ultimately, to win a game, you have to win a flank. Ideally, you win both flanks because then you just overwhelm and kill the enemy. But realistically, you got to win somewhere. And what is your Kleber doing? Bailing on A, which means you're not going to have any information because your spotter is bailing. So that stuff up on the 2 line, I can't even read what the hell it is. I think it was a Jutland and something else. You probably want to drop a fighter in the middle of A for general spotting, because I don't know what the Kleber is going to do. He's sailing closer to the enemy. So let's work on the Drake. Hopefully you get maybe 2 strikes on him. Yeah, so don't forget about cruise control. You used all your boosts before you got to the target. Heal now. Heal. So there's a amount of time after you make a strike where you're in a slingshot phase where you're not taking AA. And after you know about that second, maybe second and a half, the camera's caught up, then you're going to want to pop that heal just so that you can ride out the AA damage, because you're going to be turning within AA. So you're able to save a plane there. More damage. So the sooner you can get that second attack in, the less time he's had to alter his rudder and start fucking lead more. You might get a hit there. You needed to lead more on that. So more planes. You've used some rockets, you've used some torps. Ideally, you'd be able to use some bombs just to you don't have to, but ideally you do that so that you're regenerating all 3 different resources. The more planes you have, the more you can do, or at least the more of a buffer you have. So if, for instance, you used rockets and torps for the first 10 minutes of the game, that could be cool, but it means that you've lost out on all the bombers you could have regenerated and used to do something. So
do I move? There's a lot of enemies on that flank.
There are multiple battleships. There are 3. You could move forward a little bit if you wanted to. After you strike... Well, no, you don't want to do that because then you're pointing your carrier away from the enemy. Let's just not fuck with moving right now. Let's just strike the Drake. So, If you point your carrier away from the enemy, every single time you're attacking, you have to turn. And that's like 5 or 10 seconds that it's going to take you to turn and reset your line and start flying toward the enemy. So kiting loses you a lot of offensive pressure. Stop. Just stop your carrier. Well, whatever. Just click slightly in front of your nose and that's it. There you go. Reversing is fine too. I want you to click, hold control, get your mouse pointer, and then I want you to click the gear on the middle right of the thing, and I want you to add detectability range by air. So, well, that's, oh, I guess that's awkward because of a mod. So that is where an enemy CV could light you, so that if you were lit in that area, you could have battleships shelling you down. Now, don't fuck with all this right now. You could just turn it off if you want. Let's just play the game. But that is the range where an enemy CV could light you, and there's 3 battleships over there that could rip you apart with long-range gunfire. So hopefully you could snake through here maybe and finish the Drake. He might just be sitting on a heel, though. And you can't look at your target until you're about ready to make that strike, because then you're just going to have the flak gunners throwing flak between you and your enemy. So you remember, you know, you're checking out the chick at a bar, you're giving some side eye, you're not really engaging, you're just kind of, you know, you're thinking about it. Realistically, the Drake is pulled into cover. He's got a Republic that's covering him, he's got another ship that's covering him. So working on the Musashi is probably the better choice, and the Drake has probably got a heal by now, so you're not going to finish him with a single interaction anyway, because British heals and shit. Yeah, so he's up to 19 at this point. So hopefully you can get the Musashi. You might be able to strike the Drake after this, because now he's on the edge. Torpedoes nibble at the edge. See, this is where if we had additional attack time, we'd just be stuck waiting, which would suck. But you're a little close now. Double click to skip the animation so you don't move as much. You should not have turned to the right. That brings you closer to enemy AA. You're closer to the Republic. You're closer to the key. If you turned off to the left, for instance, you'd be avoiding that. Although it gives you a better shot setup for the Drake on the second pass. Lead more. Okay, so you got one more strike here. You need to make it happen. He's juking your torps. You see where he's going. If he turns left, he beaches, so he can't turn left. Turn in, strike, 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 strike. See where he's going and make it happen. If you linger, you're giving him time to engage his rudder and get offline. To give him more chances to defend himself. You're trying to get those strikes in. You know, if you're just kind of eyeballing it for a while, if you're that close, you're not in flak range. You weren't juking flak. So you can go directly back in, get that second strike, and make it happen. You don't want to make that move because all you're doing is sailing closer to the enemy. Your southern flank is dead. So moving your carrier here doesn't do anything for you. You need to kill this shit up in the north so that you're not just surrounded and murdered. Remember flak. Cool, start your attack. Hard turn left and chase. Hard turn left and chase. Hard turn left and chase. So you lose more planes coming in from behind because you're spending more time in the air, more in the AA, but you can try to get a better line on him. Start your attack. As soon as you're in, your thing is shitting out, but it's fine. Drop. I think that's 2. That's 1, is what it is. I wish you knew how much health the Alsace had. Oh, there's even a DD down there. There's a gearing, I guess. Maybe you look for the gearing at this point, because this is terrible. So maybe there's a gearing in like E7, E8. You're probably not going to dig out the Drake. The other stuff up in A1 and A2 is kind of sitting on top of each other. Just go south and try to spot the gearing in E7, E8. Because he's throwing torps in your battleships and they're running. Because you don't have DDs. More to the left. You're not looking at a Nevsky, you're looking for a gearing. You just got detected, the gearing is in E7. Lead more. Heal. 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 A little late on the heal. You lost a plane. Leave it spread when you drop. Don't angle it in. Drop. There you go. All right, so hopefully that at least deals with some of the DD pressure, although there might even be another destroyer out there. There might be a Shimakaze. In fact, there is. There is another DD out there. So unfortunately, you didn't have a DD line. You guys weren't able to take A. You lost Charlie. Shit happens. This is not a game you're going to recover from because you're just pinned getting shot from all sides. Chalk it up to it is what it is.
Yeah.
Let's try to find the Shima. There's no reason to spot something in smoke because you know he's there in smoke. He's literally shooting. So let's look for the Shimakaze, which is going to be in the south. Probably an E8, E9, something like that. Close to the Ibuki, but not close enough to get spotted. He might actually be on the 9 line, maybe, looking to get shots into stuff or throw long-range torps and things. But if you're able to spot a DD and the Ibuki's able to take some good shots, I mean, theoretically, you might reclaim a front line, although the game is already lost. At this point, other players might just say, fuck it, and damage farm. Just, go shoot whatever the hell they can shoot. But if you were trying to claw it back, this is what you would need to start looking at. You would need to start looking for, how can I give my team the ability to move forward or to have a front line again. And when they have destroyers and you don't, your team often just has to bail because it can't push. It can't do anything. Yeah, there's the Shima. He's all the way up on the 9 line, but he's really close to you. At this point, just strike whatever you want. It's pretty done. But it's worth remembering that if... I don't know if you play Destroyer or not. I think you're still fairly new to the game. There's front line, mid line, and back line. Front line counters front line. Mid line helps counter front line and hold the mid. Back line helps counter mid line and etc. So they all kind of work together as like a layered defense. Dude in the front with a shield, dude behind him with a spear, dude behind him with a bow and arrow. All just kind of works. When you don't have a front line, because I think you had some Kleberts, which they just like to run around and shoot shit, then they often run away. And because they'll run away, they're not providing a front line. They're not providing that shield. They're not providing that stability that you can use. So the enemy can just walk forward and keep walking forward. And as they walk forward, your team runs away. Your team moves back. So unfortunately, we watched C completely collapse because they had DDs and you didn't. And you had A until your Klebert left, I think to go cap B or something, or I don't know, die randomly, I guess. And the enemy you could never root them out. So without somebody to lead your team into positions, they just kind of stuck together and shot at things until they died. Which, happens. It's random battles. You might hit that? Nope.
We survive.
Whatever. All right, so it's been over 2 hours, and I'm going to be honest, my voice is fried and my head is burned up, so I am not going to continue. But hopefully you learned a lot. Sorry for the last game. That wasn't amazing, but it's everything's a learning experience. So
it was for me, man. Thanks a lot. Really appreciate it, man. Your time, your dedication, your knowledge. It's huge, man. I
think you have 400 battles and carriers right now. I don't know what you have in co-op, but in randoms you have 400 battles. I want to tell you, you're actually doing very well. Your ability to line the drops, lead a little more with torps or whatever, that triggers me, I guess. But you're able to hit rockets, you're able to hit torps, you're able to hit bombs, you're able to get citadels, you're able to do the stuff you need to do, which is good. That's the basic foundation of what you need to know as a CV player, because that's the core of your interaction with the enemy team. So as you continue to play, you're going to refine your shooting tactics, you're going to refine that, but you're also going to be refining your ability to get into those shots, which is interaction with flak. So that's definitely something to work on. You probably want to keep working at tier 8 until you feel really comfortable with where flak spawns and how you interact with flak before you go up to tier 10. because you're still working on that flak stuff. Definitely recommend try to train yourself under the concept of cruise control, because if you throw all your boost away, you get 2, fuck up free cards where you hit the engine boost consumable and it saves you. So, hey, look, I got boost again, but you only get 2 and there's a long match. So try to have those in your back pocket. Don't be afraid to use them, but use them when you need to use them. Don't force yourself to need to use them all the time, because then you just run out of them and that sucks. So cruise control is big. AA is big. Picking your targets. I think you did a lot better after that first game where you were kind of like, well, I'll slow down their heavy push, and you threw a lot of planes into a blender. You were much better about kind of aim for striking 2 ships. 2 ships is the ship, or sorry, CVs are designed to be able to interact with 2 ship groups. The AA is going to hurt, but you're going to be able to hit them too. So it goes back. It's like kind of an equal back and forth. You're losing resources, but they're losing health. That's what it's designed to. If you find a ship that's completely isolated, then yeah, that's definitely going to be in your favor if it's a meaningful target. If you start seeing that 3 ships, 4 ships, 5 ships, that's a hard target. That's the panic button better be fucking screaming. Godzilla is wrecking Tokyo right now. Oh my God, get the fuck in there. But it's Godzilla. What am I going to do? I don't know. Drive your Jeep into its foot and piss him off. Just do something, damn it. That's when you're going to want to start taking those really hard targets, because you're going to lose a lot for it. And you want to make sure that if you're losing something, you're losing a lot, you're doing it for a reason. Not just because, fuck it, I'm going to give it a shot. I didn't see too much else, so I don't know. Dick around, play some, figure it out, feel it out. And yeah, I do replay reviews on my channel for 20,000 channel points, which is a lot. I get it. Sometimes you have people that are in the channel all the time that they're like, bro, I got points, and they'll throw points and we can look at it. I don't play CV on stream all the time, so sometimes I'm just not in the mood to do it. No offense. But typically, as you play, play yourself another 100 battles and see how you feel, and then come back and get a little feedback, see what's going on. I do coaching sessions for 100,000 channel points, which nobody has actually taken me up on. Mostly I've done these coaching sessions because somebody's like, hey man, can you do this? And fuck it, sure. So, but this would theoretically be what a coaching session would be like. Yeah, so I don't think I have much else to say, and I'm probably just really tired and rambling at this point. So,
absolutely, man. Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot, a million times. This is the best time ever I have with this game. Knowing the mechanics, knowing the game, change your whole perception. And yeah, I hope that many of your viewers give you the 100,000, because it's actually cheap what you get. 1 by 1 like this, man, it's very uncommon. So congratulations. Thank you so much. Your explanation were clear. We're good. You see a little bit of improvement there just by a couple of hours. It was amazing, man. Thanks a lot. Really appreciate it.
Yeehaw, man. See ya.